Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Main Street Moment After Hours. This is a new series where we share the latest Disney news and briefly share our personal opinions about it. So, this will be an expansion of the Main Street Moment that we do on our regular scheduled episodes. So, I'm James, and on the show today, I have Josh,
Hello, how's everybody?
and joining us as a guest host is my cousin, Allie.
Hey everyone.
So, if you're wondering who she is, we'll share her story on a future episode, since that's not the main topic. So as you both heard, as of yesterday, because today is July 30th, Haunted Mansion officially reopened at Disneyland under its holiday overlay and as a virtual queue attraction. So, what are your guys' thoughts of this being a virtual queue rather than the regular standby? Josh, let's go ahead and start off with you.
Well, it is Christmas in July. No, I don't know. I watched quite a few videos on it yesterday as they opened it up, and I did see they had up to a 7 hour wait. I think that's a little excessive, but who knows if it fired up right or what the cause for that is. Hopefully, it doesn't continue to be that long.
Hmm.
But as far as bringing it Nightmare Before Christmas back, it's all wash. You have half the people saying they love it, and half the people say they wish it was the regular overlay. So I've never had the opportunity to see the regular overlay. I've just seen the Nightmare Before Christmas one. So,
Yeah. Well, what is your thoughts on it being a virtual queue attraction rather than a regular standby?
ooh. My only experience with the virtual queue is from Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. And I was very disappointed whenever I walked up and got in line and waited 2 hours. I
Mm,
would have probably just walked off if I would have known it was going to be 2 hours. I assumed that it was kind of like a lightning lane in a way, like they had the
hmm.
schedule stacked in there to where you just got on the ride and left, but that was definitely not the case. Not at all. And
No,
so,
it's
well,
quite
I don't
different.
know. I'm not a big fan of the virtual queues personally, but don't have that much experience with them. What about you, Allie?
Well, it's a shame that that was your experience because I really don't think that is the intent of the virtual queues. I think it is supposed to be more of a lightning lane experience, but hey, come back at this time. And yeah, you're probably going to have to wait a little bit, not as much as a lightning lane, but not as much as traditional standby.
Yes.
I think that is the intent. I know with Guardians, that did not happen that way. So you're not the only one who experienced that. But with other virtual queues that I have tried before, I do think that is the overall intent. And I think it's going to work well for Haunted Mansion simply because it is an omni mover. It's going to keep going versus tracks like Guardians. You stop and
Yeah.
unload, get the next car. That takes time. So the omni mover aspect of Haunted Mansion, where it will keep things moving as people expect when they're riding Haunted Mansion. As far as it opening as the Nightmare overlay, I'm mostly excited about it. I just wish they had waited like 3 more days to call it August because we're all used to Halloween starting in August, whether it's at Disney World or even though it's starting later at Disneyland this year. August tends to be like the acceptable times when Starbucks releases their pumpkin drinks. Like
Yep.
it is early, but we've all generally, as a public society, accepted that. And to call it July 29th, you're just 3 days away from August. I feel like they could have just waited till this coming weekend, called it good, and it wouldn't have created as much of a conversation as it has around, wow, it's too early for Haunted Mansion. In case those who don't know, why is it opening in July as the Nightmare overlay? They're doing construction on the queue right now. And I think the way that they've integrated virtual queue to still allow you to experience Haunted Mansion, even though it's the Nightmare overlay, um, as as much as you can without that experience being tainted by the construction that's going on. I think they've done a nice job from what I can see. Obviously, I haven't been there myself yet, but from all the videos I watched and the pictures I've seen, I do think they did a nice job of setting that up. But because it's been closed since last holiday, that's why they're opening it up again as Haunted Mansion Holiday because they never took those decorations down. They were still
It's
up.
already complete.
And then
Yeah.
they're gonna have to be up in a few weeks anyways, so might as well open it up that way. Because I know I've seen a lot of controversy online about why couldn't we have regular haunted mansion. And I think it is important to set the stage of why they did what they did, and when you have that context, I'm fully on board with it. But again, I just wish waiting a couple days to call it August, where I feel okay going into the holiday mindset and time frame. But that's maybe just a personal preference thing. So
So
overall, I'm
close.
just excited to have a haunted mansion back in the park. I think it's much needed,
Yes.
especially with all that construction going on with Tiana's Bayou Adventure, Hungry Bear Restaurant, all of Critter Country being closed. Every time you see videos, it's a dead end right now. And so getting some of that traffic back over to that side of the park, I think will help everyone's overall experience at Disneyland.
Fully agree. That's
What
a
about you,
lot of
James?
attractions to be down.
It
Uh,
is.
yeah, it's weird to see so many attractions down during this time frame. And, you also brought up not only just Haunted Mansion Tiana's, but Hungry Bear is now being revamped into a Country Bear type, which,
Mm-hmm.
I'm really excited because, there are so many of us who miss the Country Bears at Disneyland, um, which you can still enjoy at Disney World. But as far as the Haunted Mansion goes, yeah, I do feel like they could have waited a little bit longer, to be honest. I know there was a lot of public demand of people wanting this reopened, but it it already feels like every single year Halloween time is opening sooner in August.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it could even be over the next few years. We could even have it like within the first week of August if they keep going at it, because
Oh, totally.
Disney World opens theirs up really early.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. It's
Um,
like August 14th or something like that.
exactly. And so it's like the more demand for Oogie Boogie tickets, I feel like the sooner they start opening and get to give more people a shot at it. Uh, but I do like the Nightmare overlay. I love the soundtrack. I think it's fun. It's a fun thing during the holiday season. And I think it's nice that Disneyland is continuing this trend to still keep it there. And also, virtual queue is, if done right, it can be a benefit. And this is, I think, the best way they could have done it, because otherwise,
Mm-hmm.
you would probably see every day a 7 hour wait, like
Yes,
you
for sure.
saw on the
With
app,
such a short.
Josh. I wouldn't be surprised if, it was standby, it would easily go all the way to like Indiana Jones or Jungle Cruise.
Yeah, with the queue in the state that it is right now, there's just no way that they could do anything else
There's
besides virtual queue.
Yeah, so I'm glad that it is coming back in some capacity. And I look forward to when we actually get the real Haunted Mansion
Yeah.
back. Hopefully, this allows them to not only supply guests, with another attraction open, but gives them time to finish the queue area. So that way, when it's time in January, when they take out the overlay, that we're able to enjoy the Haunted Mansion. So I think it is a fun way to, and as you said, they never took down anything. So it's not
Mm-hmm.
like they're wasting anything or wasting any time putting
It's already
everything up.
complete.
It's already complete.
Yeah,
They've
it's
already got everything up. So might as well.
efficient for them for sure. But what I found interesting about this whole thing is they gave a date on the Disney Parks blog that Haunted Mansion would be open by. They said in time for the Halloween season, which starts end of August or something like that.
Right.
They did throw a date out there, and then they still opened it up a whole month early. So my question is, was that always the plan? And the date was just to kind of um, satiate people for the time being who were wondering and who were getting nervous that the queue wasn't ready, or did they make a last minute decision and they were like, you know what, we're far enough along, we can have this amount of queue space, let's just open it up and surprise and delight. I'd be curious
Yep,
to be a fly on the wall in those internal
exactly.
conversations to figure out how they made that decision to basically open it up a whole month earlier than they said they would.
That's actually a good point. You never know with Disney how much of it is planned and how much of it is like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
let's do this. Because sometimes I do feel like there are things where they put some news out just to have a feel of what everybody thinks.
Yeah.
Um, and then be like, oh, no, we're actually coming out this day. So because, I've seen it both ways. People got excited that it was going to reopen in time. Some people's like, well, I want it now. It was definitely that split right down the middle
Yeah,
because everybody loves Haunted Mansion. And
Hmm.
it's it's hard when only one version of the attraction is open for those of us who constantly go to Disneyland can only go to the East Coast to experience Haunted Mansion, which doesn't have an overlay, which
exactly.
Yeah.
so
This last trip in March was the first time I was going to get to see it.
And it was closed. Oh,
It's closed.
well, I mean, I know you've seen it before, but I mean, you'll technically be able to see the regular version at Disney World next year
Yep.
when you go. So I know it's not the same because you've already been there, done that, but one of these days, we'll get you there while the regular version is open.
Next spring we'll
and
have to try it.
Josh, just look at it this way. Yeah, you were saved some trips or saved some money because now when you go, you'll get to see the new queue in all of its glory
Everything.
instead of seeing all the beautiful pictures after the fact and being like, man, I
Should
should
have
have
seen it.
waited. I missed it. Like, you'll
Yep.
feel like you missed out either way, but I think you're going to end up getting the good end of the deal here.
Yeah,
Fully
You
agree.
you strategized well. So
exactly. Exactly. But yeah, I think this is going to be a fun way to at least manage the crowd a little bit and allow people to experience more stuff within the parks because who knows when Tiana's is going to open. My
Yeah.
guess is
Mhm.
probably going to be like November or something because
That's what
that's
I'm guessing.
usually when new attractions come out. That's usually when Disneyland tends to open new attractions. Disney World is always like early summer or right before summer, and Disneyland is usually later fall, winter
Yeah.
season when they open. So, if the virtual queue done right, it can be nice. And the fact that this gets to be one of the few times you actually get to go on the app before entering the parks, because as it's called now, Lightning Lane Multi Pass, you have to wait until you're in the park to make those reservations. This allows you to at least get this one out of the way so that way you can concentrate on the multi-pass and then it's also separate from your multi-pass lightning lane. So it doesn't go in
Mhm.
the same caliber. So it's not going to be like oh, you've got Haunted Mansion at this time and it's conflicting with your Smuggler's Run time frame
Yep.
because it's whenever they open up. So you're technically already in line under this virtual queue, and then they say, okay, here's when you can come on the ride. And like you said, Aly, if the Omnimover system really makes it go a lot faster than some attractions because it doesn't need to stop. It's just people jumping on, jumping off, jumping on.
And that's such an important call out too for those who are going to be experiencing the Haunted Mansion holiday with a virtual queue because it's moving constantly. If you get in the first, I'm going to say like 75 groups. I don't know, obviously, because every ride is different with their capacities and how quickly they cycle through those groups on virtual queue. But in my experience, if you get an early virtual queue, you can get called very quickly, like even more quickly than what the estimated time is on the app, because there are fewer people in the mornings generally at the parks. The afternoons tend to be the most crowded time. So people are going to take their time getting in, especially if they know that they've got that virtual queue spot. But when we did Guardians in Florida, we were at the hotel getting ready to leave, knowing that our virtual queue was still ways away according to the app. And then all of a sudden, we got a notification when we
Oh,
were like walking out the door, and I was like, "We are booking it to the entrance." Now, obviously, that's a bit of an extreme because of how how spread out Disney World is compared to Disneyland. But I expect similar situations for people when the Omni Mover nature of Haunted Mansion is just continually cycling those guests. Your group could get called a lot more quickly. So keep an eye on your notifications,
mm-hmm.
keep an eye on the app because you don't want to miss your Haunted
No.
Mansion holiday experience if that
No,
was your shot. So they have some leniency if you're like a couple minutes late, but I mean, you guys said that the queue got up to 7 hours yesterday. If you miss your spot, you're probably not getting honored back in at a later time. So just keep an eye on it.
Because if I
Yeah.
remember right, the Omni Mover system there does like 2,500 people per hour or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, it
Probably.
So
does.
it
It
eats people.
does.
What's
It
that?
does a lot.
30,000 in 12 hours. All right. Well, that does it for today's show, but we want to hear from you as well. Are you happy that the Haunted Mansion is back? What are some of your personal favorite attractions? Leave your comments on YouTube, Instagram, or Facebook page. Leave a review on Apple or Spotify. You can find us at Main Street Radio Podcast, and we'll leave the links here in the show notes. Thanks for tuning in to Main Street Moments After Hours, and we'll see you real soon.